Broadcasting from Baltimore, Maryland, this is 5x3 Radio, where strength is for everyone. I'm your host, Emily Sokolinsky, owner of 5x3 Training, a strength and conditioning gym in Baltimore, along with my co-host, Rebecca Fishburne, founder of Cornerstone Strength Maryland. Each week, Rebecca and I will discuss the ins and outs of strength training, why there is a no one-size-fits-all approach, and why strength is so important in our daily lives. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Now, on with the show. Because I swear, if we asked questions of this of women, like adult women, it would be interesting to hear what their answers were.
Oh, okay. So this is the one Emily sent. Have you avoided sports or working out because you didn't want to be seen in gym clothes?
No.
Does eating even a small amount of food make you feel fat?
No.
Do you worry or obsess about your body not being small, thin, or good enough?
No.
Are you concerned your body is not muscular or strong enough?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
That's why
I'm not like.
Do you avoid wearing certain clothes because they make you feel fat?
No. I don't like low-waisted jeans, though.
They're just uncomfortable. High-waisted jeans.
I hate high-waisted jeans.
I don't like them.
Do you feel badly about yourself because you don't like your body?
No.
Have you ever disliked your body?
No.
Do you want to change something about your body?
I wish I was taller.
Yeah. Do you compare yourself to others and come up short? No. Well, literally.
Yeah.
See, so that's like some of those questions I just like, these guys don't necessarily relate that way.
Yeah. No, they don't have, I heard no. So
Yeah.
if let's say, put me at their age, you're both 15, right?
Yeah.
So when I was 15, if you had asked me these questions, I would have said yes, 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 yes. I would have answered yes to every single question. And I would have answered yes to all those questions into my late teens and my 20s and even into my 30s. So it is fantastic that you answered no to all of those. And they were clear no's. We're here today with two of Rebecca's daughters, Sadie and Felicia. And they're here on the podcast to talk about their experience as young women in sports, in athletics, and their relationship with their body and their body image. So, Rebecca, you want to introduce your daughters to everybody?
Okay. So we've got Felicia and Sadie, and they're twins. They're both 10th graders. And
I was thinking 10.
No, you're not 10. You're 15. Getting ready to learn how to drive. So do you want to say a little bit about what your sports or your activities are, or do you want me to say that?
I can.
So this is Felicia.
Yeah, I'm Felicia. I play soccer, and I have been throughout my whole life. And a couple years back, I started getting into lifting. And I try to lift during my off season so I can build up strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sadie?
My name's Sadie. I played soccer for a while, and then I stopped, and I took up lifting.
So Sadie and I are actually right now getting ready to compete in the Stronger Together meet up in Baltimore next month. So Sadie's chosen her lift.
I have.
Right? Because we each do two, right?
Exactly. Upper body, lower body.
Yeah, so completely unlike me, Sadie's preferred lift.
I squat and overhead press.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
My preferred
I
lift.
change when it gets heavier, though. So.
It's pretty heavy. She's doing great. So yeah, it's Felicia and Sadie, and they're the more athletic of my kids, and they're the ones that have had sort of more consistent training experience using a barbell. They have a strength and conditioning class at school, and one of their older sisters has taken that one, but didn't sort of continue with that after the class was over. She prefers to run from time to time. Yeah.
Is that's Delia?
Delia, and then the oldest one, Hannah, prefers to walk.
Mm-hmm. So what got you involved with the lifting, ladies? Was it because your mom did it? Was it, did you want to do it? Did she encourage you to do it? How much of it was a combination of both?
Well, I think I always wanted to get stronger for soccer, and my mom just encouraged it and was there to support me. And like, it was really helpful because a lot of people my age and girls on my team didn't have access to someone like my mom who can help them and train them. So it was like, I was like, of course I'm going to train with my mom. Like,
And then Sadie had
Do I have to add? That's kind of it.
The same thing?
Yeah.
same story.
Yeah. How much, you do training at school, but how different is that training compared to what you do at home with your mom? Sadie?
Okay. So for squat, they do high bar. We do low bar, right?
Yeah.
And then for deadlift at school, what do they do?
They
Do they
tell
just
you-
do it wrong? Or
They
is that
tell
a
you,
different
look at the
version?
ceiling. Look at the ceiling for everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they tell you to use like
An alternating grip.
Wait, what's this?
Yeah. Yeah. So they have them do an alternating grip for all of their deadlifts, even their warm up, stare at the ceiling.
They say to look up, not the ceiling.
Well, okay, look up. And then, like if you or I were looking at the form that is taught, it more resembles a trap bar squat.
Sure,
or half
sure.
bar squat. I mean deadlift.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's not actually connected specifically with soccer.
Mhm.
That's a separate PE class. They also have a separate strength and conditioning for girls.
Mhm.
And the middle kid took strength and conditioning for girls. These two, Felicia and Sadie, both signed up for. You guys did.
We signed up for strength and conditioning for girls, but then that filled out, so we had to do.
well, I think I just signed up for strength and
I think
conditioning.
Felicia for sure signed up straight up for just strength and conditioning. Did you initially sign up for?
I don't know. I thought I did it.
So they had separate programs. So they had a strength and conditioning program, and then they had strength and conditioning for girls.
Yes.
So what was the difference between both programs? Why the girls?
We
I
haven't. Can you?
Okay.
We haven't actually done both programs because we've only had one semester of
Right.
that class, which was just the normal one. But I hope there's not a difference. I hope it's the same thing, just with different people. Because I get that you would maybe feel more comfortable around just girls.
That's what I'm wondering. Is it just
Yeah.
is it for girls, as in like this is just girls, just women training, as far as, and then the other one is more co-ed, and I
Yeah.
can totally understand that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering
Well-
if there's like a difference in what they're teaching in both.
Well, I
Or
can't
coach.
speak from experience, but I've had friends that it's the same teachers teaching both of them.
Mhm.
But some of my friends have said that just strength and conditioning for girls is like more relaxed. And also, when I first got into strength and conditioning, they kind of set the standards a little bit higher. And then, because like with just the bar, they were like, when we first got into regular strength and conditioning, I'm losing my train of thought.
That's okay.
So wait, we were like,
You had
You were
a
kind of
story.
only
yeah, I
expected to
had
do
a
it.
story.
You had a story about the first day where the coach said, "Who has any experience with barbells?" And you were like the only girl in the class that raised her hand.
Mhm.
And the coach was like super impressed with her for having had any experience with the
Mhm.
barbell.
Mhm.
And then you kind of became one of the coach's favorites.
Yeah. That was,
But I mean, like, I guess what I think I also remember you saying is that maybe there was more, like it was more of a competitive atmosphere with the boys and
the
girls
co-ed, yeah.
together.
Yeah.
The boys were wanting to set PRs, and maybe there wasn't quite so much pressure for that in the
And the girls
strength
program.
conditioning
Yeah.
for girls.
Yeah, I asked because definitely one of our former trainees she's graduated from college now, but when she was in college, she did strength and conditioning for swimming. So she was a swimmer, and their training program was connected to their swimming. So they had their swim coach, and then they had their strength coach, and the college girls had a different program than the boys.
Oh,
The girls did not deadlift. Only the boys deadlifted. Only the boys.
That is weird.
So Jackie, it was Jackie. So Jackie did not. She got into this program. So she would train on Sundays. She would do her starting strength. She would do her novice progression, and then she would train during the week with her, her team. But they did not deadlift. The girls were not taught to deadlift. They did, more lunging and squats and more conditioning than the boys, which I'm like, they're both on the same swim team. They're swimming together. Why aren't they doing the same training?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm curious, like the difference between those two programs. Maybe it just sounds like it was less competitive in one, more competitive in the others, because you had the co-ed, you had the boys and the girls together. I'm hoping that's the only difference, and not that there wasn't as much barbell training in the one program versus the other one. But it sounds like you're saying, Sadie and Felicia, it was not that. It was just maybe more relaxed in the girls program, so not as competitive. Yeah. So I want to, since we're talking about this, is we just had our first podcast go out on body image. So did the ladies have a chance to go through the little? I just honestly, I Googled question like body image questions for teens, and this is what popped up.
Oh, see.
There's a lot of things that popped up, but this was one of this whole like your body yourself. I was just kind of overwhelmed by that. That was pretty. It was like it hit on everything that we talked about.
I actually didn't send them that because it was long.
Yeah.
They can't even read a long text.
Well, all I wanted them to do was was the questionnaire part.
Oh.
So that might be interesting to maybe go over. Do you have that? Because it wasn't so much. Yeah, it wasn't really all the other stuff. That's more like what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know.
How do you
I'll have to
measure up?
check again. Some of those questions I thought were a little bit weird.
Yeah, I mean that's why I wanted you to look at them.
Wait.
I mean, because I swear, if we asked questions of this of women, like adult women, it would be interesting to hear what their answers were.
Oh, okay. So this is the one Emily sent. Have you avoided sports or working out because you didn't want to be seen in gym clothes?
No.
Does eating even a small amount of food make you feel fat?
No.
Do you worry or obsess about your body not being small, thin, or good enough?
No.
Are you concerned your body is not muscular or strong enough?
Kind of.
Ish.
Well, I mean,
That's why
I'm not like.
Do you avoid wearing certain clothes because they make you feel fat?
No. I don't like low-waisted jeans, though. That's just
They're just uncomfortable.
I hate high-waisted jeans.
I don't like
Do you feel badly about yourself because you don't like your body?
No.
Have you ever disliked your body?
No.
Do you want to change something about your body?
I wish I was taller.
Yeah. Do you compare yourself to others and come up short? Well, literally. See, so that's like some of those questions I just like, these guys don't necessarily relate that way.
Yeah, no, they don't have. I heard no. So if let's say, put me at their age, you're both 15, right?
Yeah.
So when I was 15, if you'd asked me these questions, I would have said yes, 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 yes. I would have answered yes to every single question. And I would have answered yes to all those questions into my late teens and my 20s and even my 30s. So it is fantastic that you answered no to all of those. And they were clear no's. So we want to definitely talk to you too about your, you as two young teenage girls kind of growing up in in sports. What have you noticed as you have gone through, your soccer training and now your strength training? Is there a difference between you and other girls that you are friends with as far as how you view yourselves? Because it sounds like you two are very confident in yourselves, very confident. Talk to us a little bit about what you've experienced, maybe, around other girls your age, as you've been, growing and developing and coming into your own in regards to yourself and just into your sports too. I'm curious to what your
body image.
Is it an issue with you, or is it?
Is that a thing? Is that a thing that kids your age, girls your age, boys your age are concerned about?
Okay, so personally, body image isn't really that big of a deal for me because I'm like sort of comfortable in myself, whatever. But I can't speak for really anybody else because I'm sure that everybody is insecure about something. Like I am too, but some people take it to different extents and they don't really show it that much. I don't know. Because like you can be insecure about something and just keep it to yourself and not ever tell anybody, but it's really like eating you up inside.
Right.
And I don't think that anybody really at school openly talks about their insecurities that much. So I kind of wouldn't really know.
Yeah. So so any of your friends that you talk to, that you hang out with, you're not hearing that. That's not something that you all discuss.
Well, none of like my close personal friends have talked to me about any of that. So, and they all seem pretty like confident in themselves too. So I don't really know, but as for like the entire school population, there are probably some people that are more insecure than others.
Sure.
And, but I don't really know.
Yeah. Felicia, what about you?
Yeah, I think a lot of the people that I talk to are pretty confident in their body and everything. And I think it does really depend who you talk to and also who you surround yourself with. Everyone that I'm around and me are pretty confident, but I'm sure that there are people that struggle with their body image and their confidence and compare themselves to other people like on our team. So because on a soccer team, like we're all pretty fit, we're all pretty athletic, but I'm sure that there are people that are comparing themselves like, yeah, but they're stronger. Yeah, but they're more athletic and are trying to, be like someone else who might have the same build as them, and they're trying to be and compare themselves to someone that it's really not obtainable for them.
So, like, are you saying compare more in terms of performance? Like they're,
oh, you can deadlift more than me. I want to be like you.
Well, yeah, and also like performance and how they look,
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced, because it sounds like, just what I'm hearing, you two, again, seem very, very comfortable, very, very confident, and many of the girls on your team feel the same way, or at least they're not saying, they're not talking about it. What have you experienced as far as coaches talking to you about how you look? Is it more the coaches are focusing on your performance as an athlete or have you heard any coaches ever, speaking in terms of what your body looks like, or maybe other players, or even just people, not coaches, just outside voices, because there's this kind of the stigma of like, oh, soccer players, soccer girls, they've got big thighs, they've got this, they've got, there's too much muscle on them.
When you were asking specifically about their coaches, did their coaches ever say anything to them? They were both like shaking their head. No, their coaches don't talk to them about what their body looks like.
So it's really about how you play.
They talk about skills.
Definitely skills.
Yeah. And I think kind of that question probably comes more from like your experience with dance.
Exactly.
Where the aesthetic was part of the performance in a way that aesthetic isn't a part of the performance with soccer.
Right.
What were some of the other things that Emily was asking about that you guys...
If it was not so, maybe not even from coaches, but outside voices, like people who know that you play soccer, or people who don't have any investment in sports, what they think of females playing sports. There's so much that layered on top of this, on top of that, and you hear so many stories, not just in the dance world or gymnastic world, but in other sports of bodies really being questioned. So it's not coaches, but have you ever experienced, or have your friends ever experienced negative talk about you as an athlete, you as a female athlete? Has that been something that you've ever observed yourself, even though it was maybe not directed to you, but others?
No one has ever like in person said something to me about my body, because I don't surround myself with that type of people.
Good for you.
But on the internet and stuff, people, like somebody could post a picture and there's like absolutely nothing wrong with the picture, but somebody finds something and then everybody just drags that person down for no reason. And it's sad, but like I don't experience that in real life, but I do see it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
On
Same with you, Felicia?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely society and people create these stereotypes, like girls that play soccer have big, strong, muscly legs or something. And, you know, certain sports have certain like body types. And, yeah, I definitely see it. I don't really think that necessarily affects me, but it can definitely affect someone and how they look at themselves, you know, and it's kind of toxic that's like just normal in society that certain people, just because they do a sport should look a certain way, because they really shouldn't, you know?
I think that goes along with what you and I were talking about, Rebecca. Like, does somebody look strong? You know, what is looking strong? What does looking athletic mean?
We had this conversation the last time I was lifting.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Go ahead. About what?
The whole conversation.
Okay. So there's like this idea that looking strong means like you're really lean and you have big defined muscles and stuff. And lifting has kind of shown me that that's not the case, and that you can be incredibly strong without kind of like looking like it. And there's really no one way to look strong, because everybody has a different body type and everybody looks strong in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were watching the. I just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Martins Lyses posted a training video, so he's a strong man.
Right.
And he did some training with one of his friends who's a bodybuilder. And you look at his friend who's the bodybuilder, and he's got like incredibly big, well-defined muscles because that's how he trains. And to me, I think somebody who's not familiar with strength sports, who just sort of watches movies and has ideas of what strong looks like based on, say, the Avengers characters, would look at the bodybuilder that he was training with and figured that he was stronger. I mean, obviously there were aspects of grip strength and technique or skill that were at play also. But Martins Lyses doesn't have that same muscular definition that his bodybuilder friend has.
Right.
And yet he was able to perform these feats of strength. Yes, incredible feats of strength. Stone to shoulder multiple times, or whatever. What's that thing you had? Wait for height. Repeated over and over, or even like farmer carries and stuff. Right. I mean, that was more probably technique and grip related, but I mean, it was just the average person looking at the bodybuilder would assume that he'd be able to do more, lift more, be stronger,
because he looks strong.
That was really just he was training for that appearance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The idea of like looking a certain way is very important, I think, to many people. You know, they have to look like the part, whatever that part is. I don't know what looking that part is.
You just had the strong woman competition.
We had a strongman contest today, and it was fantastic. It was great yesterday. It was great today. Everyone had an awesome time, and I mean, there were women of all sizes there, of all abilities, and no one thought twice about what they looked like, what they were doing. They were just there to perform. They were there. They had trained, and they were going to do it. And some, did better than they expected. Others did what they expected. Others didn't do as well as they wanted, but they still had fun. And it just reminds me of when you have something like that, when you have an event or you have a sport for women where the focus is on their ability and their function. Yeah, it's much more meaningful than an event where the display is their body. And we talked about that, the physique model, the physique, the bodybuilder, the bikini competitor, where the focus is.
Yeah.
And I think so many women.
Like, girls, do you think that like, you know, you've got a pretty confident outlook, about your body image? That's not a thing that you really stress about or anything. How much do you think being involved in sports that focus on performance has had to do with developing that perspective?
A lot.
Yeah.
Like, do you see different attitudes in kids that you know that do not play sports? Like, are there other kids at your school that you think are, you know, without the benefit of sports or strength training or something like that, more concerned about trying to be skinny or like trying to look like, I don't know, a magazine model or something like that?
I think that the way that society sort of ingrains this idea that you have to be skinny into like young people's minds, it's always in the back of your head that like you should maybe kind of look a certain way. But strength training and like sports have kind of moved that idea to the back of your head. So it's more based on like, oh, like how strong am I? How much can I lift? Instead of like, oh, how skinny am I? How much do I weigh?
How much of that is, do you think, influenced by your mom and
a lot.
Okay, so you're, you know, no, see, I'm serious because I mean, I think that, you know, I mean, my mom, I danced. My mom never danced. She put me in dance. So it wasn't so much I was influenced by her. I was influenced by my dance teachers and the people around me. So it was, and she had a hard time, you know, relating to what I was feeling and why I was feeling a certain way. So having a role model like your mom who is strong and who is displaying that strength, you know, in front of you and encouraging that, I'm assuming is, you know, why you two feel so confident and have gone, you know, the direction you've gone in. So maybe, you know, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
What about you?
Well, I think that it's just so nice to have you as my mom.
Oh my God, this is not what I was trying to have. No. Felicia, do you want to give me some compliments?
No, what I'm saying is that it's nice because you value like strength and you know how much that really can impact my like performance in soccer, and you know that, you know, I can be healthy, like, you know, like you
I
really,
mean, just like for Felicia in particular, and Sadie also, when she was playing soccer, Felicia's at this point on 2 different soccer teams, and she's not strength training right now because there's just not enough time in the day.
Sure.
But during the off season, we're going to get back to that. That's definitely something that I'm going to be encouraging for her, that she understands, is because what we're trying to do is make her durable on the field. Like,
sure.
We don't make tall people here.
Right.
We don't make big people in our
right.
family. So there's a lot of other players on the field that are bigger. And so these guys, when they're playing soccer, I think need to be as sturdy as possible so that they can be safe and
absolutely
yes, and fast, and, you know, do all their soccer moves.
Well, soccer is like the number one. I mean, as far as injuries go, soccer is like at the top of the list for injuries, and you see that, you know, so many knees, ankles, you know, more than anything, because having that durability, being able to stop and start and move and, you know, cut in different directions. Yeah. That strength is going to help you stay more balanced and stable. And then if you do injure yourself, recover faster, ideally. Yeah. Because
going like kind of way back to when you said like, how does having a strength training mother sort of like affect you?
Sure.
Like strength training probably isn't something that I've gotten into if it weren't for her. Because like it's not kind of that popular. It's not like a popular like sport like in high school. It's not like a high school sport, you know. But and I probably never would have heard of it until like high school strength and conditioning if it weren't for mom.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like because of the connection to 5x3, you know, like they've got the opportunity. Sadie's got the opportunity this winter
Right.
to participate in a meet.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's not like there aren't meets happening other places, but it's also like a very friendly, welcoming, especially to a first timer kind of atmosphere. It's not, you know, it's going to be fun. It's going to be like encouraging people and just a good all around experience.
Yeah. I mean, I know that the Westminster up in Carroll County, I mean, our friends up at Westminster Strength and Conditioning have a huge young athlete, sports program.
And that's really
so many girls. And there's so many girls who compete.
Yeah.
You know, in their high schools up there. Yeah.
And that's really cool because they've helped to shape the culture at that middle school and that high school. And I think those kids are really fortunate to have that and to have that available to like a large group. Whereas like here for their high school, like Sadie's saying, there's no powerlifting team.
Right.
There's the strength and conditioning class, but that's not it. Yeah, that's it. But that's not a thing here, like it is up at Westminster.
And you can only take the class for one semester. So at best, you're like lifting for like a few months every year.
And that's it. You can't do it. I mean, if you want to do it again, are you allowed or?
You can do it every year, but you can't take it twice a year. You can.
I took it post.
Well, that was because you messed up.
No, I
don't think you can.
Yeah, you can.
Well, but also Felicia had a kid, you had a senior in there that was like kind of he was like interning or something, kind of helping to coach.
No, he just had like a half schedule and wanted to put strength and conditioning on it so that he could like train at school, like, and have it be one of his class times, which is kind of smart.
He's using his time wisely. And the coach accommodated. Okay. So it wasn't like necessarily like a formal arrangement.
But I'm sure you can like somehow like if you wanted to like be a teacher helper or something.
Yeah, you can be a teacher helper.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you guys talk about this because when your mom and I were podcasting, I guess it was the first go around, our first time on this topic, our experience at your age was completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, completely different. And I don't know if it was the activity that I was a part of. Most definitely dancing influenced and shaped my behavior. But it would have been so nice to, at 15, have had the confidence that you two have and had been introduced to strength training back then. But it wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And for dancers, it's still not a thing. They're very few and far between who decide that they want to do something like this. So it's not going to be part of a dancer's routine for a while. And even just it's even just the past how many years that really strength training has become a part of even like the sports, soccer, basketball, baseball. It wasn't really that big either.
Well, and even now, a lot of times it's not even just the straight up, like, get you strong.
Right,
it's sort of, let's do some sort of functional training. So we're going to somehow weight up the movements that simulate whatever your sport is.
There's that sport-specific training which doesn't exist.
Yeah. So, but like we were talking before about body weight a little bit, and body weight, muscle mass. Anyway, that all in relation to strength training. And how do you want to tell that story about your new outlook on your body weight based on your deadlift?
Is it okay? I'm not totally sure what you're talking about. Like, I kind of never really cared about my body weight or whatever, but now it's like, however much I weigh, that's like, I can maybe like lift my body weight.
That's right. It's a totally different way of like looking at yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I can pick up myself. That's pretty cool.
But then like, instead of like looking at yourself and being like, oh, I weigh that much. It's like, oh my gosh, I can lift that much.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, when I talk to a lot of ladies at my gym, telling them when they can squat their body weight or when they can deadlift their body weight, like that's a real that's a milestone. And they look at me and they're like, they want to be able to deadlift their body weight. And then they decide they want to deadlift their body, deadlift 2 times their body weight. That's like mind blowing. I mean, if I could deadlift 2 times my body weight, I'd be thrilled.
Katie's over here telling me we need to have a celebratory party for her.
You need a PR bell like we have.
Oh yeah, no joke. We've talked about this when she gets to meet, because she's coming back to strength training after some time off,
right? And
she's back on an LP, and she's been training now for 4 weeks? About 4 weeks. So it's like LPs are fun. Every time you lift, it's a PR basically.
That's awesome.
I mean, not brand new this time because she's done it before, but we're talking about coming up to the meet, to the Stronger Together meet. And she's expecting to ring your PR bill.
I hope so.
Each time.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you figure your first attempt, that's something that she's already done. And second attempt, maybe also, and third attempt, well. Yeah, well, we talked about that. She'll probably take them for a test run before we get up there, but come up and ring the bell.
So, I mean, I obviously, I'm hearing you, both of you just talking about how much you enjoy strength training, how you view you see your bodies, that you haven't really ever had anybody discuss your body with you, in terms of, looking a certain way. And you said that you're as far as like your friends go, or, your fellow students, you haven't heard that either. Is that, again, as Sadie said, just the people you've surrounded yourself with, or because it would be nice to know that everybody thinks the same way you do. And maybe it's just because of the circles that you're in. So are there any, do you know of anybody else that's not within that circle that you definitely have like, yes, this person views me this way, or this person sees life this way? I don't know. Like Sadie was kind of talking before, I don't think they have friends like that, or they don't hang in groups like that, but toxic people. But you've seen that. You were talking on like social media.
On social media,
posts.
there's like a lot.
Right.
So it's definitely
just social media is toxic, because you post a picture of yourself and people like it or not. And if you have more likes than this person, more people liked a picture of my body than yours.
And even if it has a lot of likes, people still pick it apart. And in the comments, they'll be like,
So how does that affect you? I mean, is it just no, but like I guess other people, what is that, how do you just put it to the side? Is that something, obviously it sounds like you just put it to the side. It's just like not part of who you are. So, you're not going to have anything to do with it. Other people might not be able to do that. What is it? What do you think sets you apart from that kind of thinking? Is it just because, is it just the sports? Is it you? Is it how you were raised? Is your mom, like what has helped you kind of have this mindset of, this is who I am. I like who I am. I like the sport I do. And nothing you can say is going to change my mind. This is me. Where's that mindset come from? I'm having a hard time explaining myself. I had a hard time trying to find out who I was. It took me a long, long time as a teenager into adulthood and into my 30s to really be happy with myself. Where is that for you now? How is the confidence that you have? Where does that come from?
I think it's definitely like how I was raised and who I surround myself with. Mm-hmm. And like strength training is kind of like a little bonus, like, ooh, you're strong. But I don't think that like weight or looks have ever really been a problem because of the people that I'm with.
Got it.
Yeah. I actually had in 8th grade, we were split into, this is a little story here. We were split into like teams or whatever, and our classes, the majority of your classes were with the same people. So a lot of my friends had classes together. So I kind of made a whole new group of friends in 8th grade, and it wasn't completely toxic. Everyone was nice, but it wasn't as carefree, and I am who I am in that group. So I feel like transition from in 8th grade, I was terrified to wear a pair of like sweatpants to school. Well, I wasn't terrified. I just would rather dress up. You know, I'd rather put on something nice and like, you know, because that's the type of group of friends that I had made. But then when I went into high school, it was like I was back with my old friends and it didn't matter, you know.
She wears sweats every day.
It was, yeah, especially now. But
was it like that in 7th grade? Or
no, and it was
just
because in 8th grade you kind of had to find a new group of friends, and that group of friends wasn't necessarily toxic, but they did care more about.
It was just different. So I went from, it was just a different dynamic in that friend group, and I don't necessarily think it was. I prefer my friend group better that I have now and I had before.
Sure.
But I just think that it was my friend group now is just a little bit more accepting and supportive of each other. So that really does make a big difference in who you support or surround yourself with and everything you do, you know, in your free time too. Like if I'm going to hang out with my friends and we're all just going to go have fun, do something rather than like going with the other group of friends and doing something, it just might be a little bit like more pressure to be or act a certain way, you know? And I mean, some pressure is good, but it gets to a point where it just really shouldn't matter. Be who you want to be and like it, you know.
It sounds so easy.
Yeah, it really does. It's not though.
It's not. It sounds so easy. And it's so refreshing to hear two young women, 15 years old, have such a adult, you know, outlook on, we like who we are. And I'm going to be with these group of friends because we're just happy being together. It's not about what we look like, what we dress, how we dress. We're happy with just being together and who we are. And I'm not going to associate myself with this group because this group has different pressures. You know, they're putting different pressures on me.
Ellen and Emily last week, and this kind of gets to the group, but also like competitiveness. Like you've got competition on your sports team to play well or do well. You've got your own kind of competition with yourself. You know,
more than I did yesterday.
Yeah, right. So, but I had a friend in 8th grade who was pretty toxic and was competitive about being skinny. Yeah. So that was like a rough patch for me in middle school. She wasn't just my friend in 8th grade. She was kind of my friend all through middle school. So that was like not a good, healthy influence. And that was a lot to do with friends. But like, I don't know what it would have been like if we'd had a sport and she could have turned that competitive sense towards a performance goal, as opposed to like, she kind of had an appearance goal and it was based on, you know, what you would see. I mean, you guys have watched movies from the 80s and people are kind of like stick figures and
representation.
Yeah, not a lot of representation. There's kind of one look and it's skinny.
Yep.
And so that was sort of what the environment was that we were growing up in, and not a healthy way to channel that competitiveness into something productive. Yeah,
Sadie and I are like incredibly lucky. Like we have such a good group of friends that we always support each other. I mean, you're our mom. You introduced like strength training at such a young age, and to value like, you know, how strong we are, you know, and health
as opposed to appearance.
Although you guys used to complain about that. Still do. So
yeah. No, friends can have a huge influence on you. I mean, I mean, your mom and I were talking about this. Like my friends, we really didn't talk about how we looked and what we, you know, in our dance classes. It was kind of an unspoken thing because no one wanted to admit, I think, in a sense of what they were doing, you know, how they were trying to stay thin. And I never liked being tall. You talked about wanting to be taller, like anything you could change about yourself. I didn't like the fact that I was taller. I had a growth spurt much later than all my friends. So I would do all these things to my leotard, to my uniform in class to make myself look shorter. You know,
you didn't have like elephant knees and elephant ankles.
I'd pull the leotard down to make my legs look shorter, and then I'd pull I'd pull the leotard down and kind of safety pin it to make just to kind of hide myself. And the way I stood too, hunched over to make myself shorter. It was horrible, but it was that I wasn't comfortable with who I was.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, like we've talked about this before, even like adult women that you
Absolutely.
and I work with now that have, like you have to sort of reteach posture because it's so ingrained in them to try and be, shorter, which is always, it blows my mind at like however tall I am. I'm going to say 5'1".
I was talking to somebody the other day, and they set their bench up to like a really high, and I said, it was Molly. I said, Molly, your arms really they're not that long. I said, you're not that big. She said, I know. I said, you're like Rebecca. Rebecca sets her bar height. I'm like, you're not that tall.
Yeah.
I think I am. So
routinely look at people 5'4" and think that we're the same height.
But you're trying to take up as much space as possible, and I was trying to always take up as little space as possible. And I didn't have that.
Emily, that's all just in strength training.
Right.
Growing up, like this time frame I'm talking about through middle school, it was like trying to be smaller.
Yep. And I don't hear that coming from Sadie, or you, Felicia, that it's not about that. There's nothing about that at all. It's just about my sport and how much stronger I need to be better at my sport, and how good it makes you feel. And I think your mom and I were talking about that, the function of the body, being functional as opposed to looking a certain way. And that's very hard for many, many, many adult women to get through their heads. They compare themselves constantly to other women. And it's unfortunate because I think it comes from when they were younger. It definitely stems from, it's not something that just kind of happened when they were, 5 years ago. It goes way back. It goes way back. And how we have been able to reconcile with that has been, a lot of work on our part. And you've been doing this. I mean, how long have you guys been? So you've been playing sports since, I guess you were young, like elementary school, right? Yeah. So you were already involved and still involved with that. And it's still a positive thing in your life. And now you added the strength training, another positive aspect of your life. And it's just you're just building that. So going into college and into your, young adulthood, it's just you're taking off. You're already heading in the right direction. And that's extremely fortunate. Because it's not the case with many young women. I mean, I know of many 15-year-olds who are very unhappy with themselves.
Well, and I mean, I guess I worked with a teenage girl maybe a year or more ago who was, I think, about these guys' age at the time. And her coach actually had said something to her about her body. She's a swimmer, and she has tall parents. And when she went through a growth spurt, her body changed significantly. And she was a lot taller and she was a lot different shaped than she had been the year before. And the coach told her something along the lines of, you better cut back on the snacks, or, some kind of thing like that.
And that was it.
And that was sort of the trigger point when the mother started to look for coaching, just because she wanted her daughter to be getting some other messaging about nutrition and its importance for an athlete, and strength and the importance of strength for an athlete, and just a different way of thinking about her size than what had been suggested by her coach.
Yeah. And
so these guys are fortunate. They have very professional coaches.
Extremely.
Focused on skills, focused on performance, and never felt like it was their place to say anything about body size or anything like that.
Because you have stories. I mean, I can't remember, just recently in the news, all those horror stories of young athletes. Was it Nike? Was it the running program that there was an article that recently came out? I mean, and you have these top competitors, young competitors who were just being destroyed by coaches who want them to be smaller. and that's going to help them be faster for some reason. There's just like this complete, nope, doesn't work that way. So to have coaches who are so focused and understand and supportive and focusing on the athlete as a whole
Yeah.
is, we've talked about that this doesn't affect, you spoke of the young woman, the swimmer. This doesn't affect just females. We have a young male at our gym who is 17, and he's fantastic. And he's a football player, and he's not playing right now. But when he was in 8th grade, he suffered a lot of problems because he was, he hadn't had his growth spurt yet. So he had all this, kind of baby fat still. And but it affected him mentally.
Yeah. And I actually just, a friend of ours recently, just actually this week, had posted something where her son, who I think is in middle school now, had to do some sort of project for health class or PE class, and had to figure out his BMI, right? Body mass index, height, and weight, which is not an accurate read of someone's health, or like weightlifters.
Right. We talked about
always have trouble with BMI because muscle is dense and it weighs more, and it's not an accurate measure. But according to his calculations, this kid, who's like a middle school aged kid, calculated that he was overweight, and the mother was like very upset about that because apparently the kid was upset, so that's just part of like the growth process for a lot of kids. And
I mean, it's hard to get people to understand fat and muscle, and the fact is that actually a pound of fat and a pound of muscle, they actually do weigh the same. It's just one takes up less space than the other one. That's why you can step on a scale, weigh the same, looking at two different ways, but your pants are smaller, or your shirt's smaller, or your belt fits differently because muscle has taken up less space than the fat. But when people hear fat and they get in their heads fat, and they get in their heads muscle, and it's just, they can't.
Well, and there's also so much advertising that's confusing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So it's just it's hard. It's hard sometimes to get through all the noise, but it doesn't affect just young females. Young males go through the same thing. Can go through the exact same thing, and then it's hard to change that behavior. We're trying to get him to eat. He's lost weight because he saw himself and he saw some fat. And
well, this all goes back to Jay's conversation too.
Yes.
Like Jay, as a middle schooler, trying to look cut because he wasn't tall, so dieting and all that kind of stuff. But
right. So there's a lot of a noise to work through, and when you don't have any noise, as these two don't have any, it's great because so much more can happen. So much more is going to happen.
So much more potential.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a nice conversation to have because, hopefully we're going to have people listening to this and listening to, these two, to you and you, Sadie, and you, Felicia, and say, I want to be like them. I mean, or I want to make sure that my daughters or my sons growing up, feel supported too, and feel encouraged. And how can I best support them as they're growing and developing, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally? I mean, what's going to help them be themselves and help them learn that being themselves is okay. We're all looking off to the side here. Who's that?
Yeah, that's some other sisters trying to and the dog.
And the dog.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, or we should, probably close here? Anything that you two want to add, share, along this discussion that we haven't touched on that you think people would benefit from hearing, or just something to share? It's okay if you don't.
I think that you're always growing, you're always learning, and I think I can become more confident. I think I can, grow. And if life is, you learn, you go along, and just be yourself. Hard, and everyone tells you just be you, it's fine, you're you, and you're awesome. But it's once you realize that you are who you are and you can't change it, and it's only gonna
And you're
you're
okay
only
with
gonna,
that.
yeah, you got to be okay with that. And once you realize that, you're only going to be happier and better off. And reaching that point might take a couple minutes, but once you get
Years.
there, yeah, years, minutes, however long you want to say. Once you get there, you know,
You're better off.
you're gonna thrive.
Yeah. Sadie?
Your insecurities don't define you. So
Absolutely.
just that.
Yeah. No, it's hard to hear that sometimes and really like work at it. But I think when people work at it and they have to find something that they enjoy doing, I think it makes somebody more able to enjoy themselves,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, I guess, so one other just last thing, can I tell that story? I love this story. But it was like that patch that Felicia was going through with that group of kids that was a little bit more,
Just less supportive.
a little less supportive. That was when she started doing strength training in the first place. And she came home one day and she's like, Mom, I kind of don't want to tell you this because I don't want it to go to your head or anything because you're all about strength training all the time anyway. But it's really making me feel more confident about a lot of things at school too.
Yeah.
So
It definitely does.
I do not remember saying that.
I wrote it down. I mean, I don't think I got your wording right, but I mean, that was the gist of it. You were, and I didn't realize at the time that was, I knew it was a different friend group, but I didn't know they were, and I didn't know they were that much tougher to get along with. But I know you definitely came home and you were like, yeah, that's strength training. And it was just so funny the way she said it too, because she was like, I know you're going to take this as a, big compliment, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's true. Strength training is making me feel more confident about everything.
I mean, we'll close here. I mean, when you are using your body and you discover how much your body is capable of doing, it changes everything inside of you mentally. There's definitely a lot more confidence that you build up, realizing that my body is capable and can function like this. Every time the contest comes and goes, I get pumped the next time I go into the gym. Yeah. Because I want to get back to my own training. I may not be training for strong women, but I can't wait to get back in the gym. I can't wait to start benching. I can't wait to get my squat session in, even though I know it's going to be hard and I'm going to, grunt and I'm going to, feel like I'm going to pass out, but it feels so good after I've done it.
Yeah. But I mean, and it's just like that right there, what you're describing with the strong woman is also kind of what these guys are talking about. It's who you surround yourself with.
Exactly.
The people that are showing up to Charm City Strong Woman contest are people who are encouraging and supportive and lifting each other up and
lifting.
Yeah, and lifting.
Yeah, I just got the nicest email back from a young woman it was her first time doing the contest. She's at Westminster, and she came in with her service dog. It was for a vet. So I didn't ask her too much about it, but it definitely was the dog was her service dog.
Yeah.
And she said to me, I don't do really well in crowds. And we had it was just the volunteers basically and the competitors. So no crowds, no spectators. And she said it was the best. It was so supportive and encouraging for her first time.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
Afterwards, do you remember that? I was like, I came home from that strong woman competition, the first and only time I did it. And I was like on such a high. I wrote some big, long blog about it. I'll have to find it.
Yeah, no. This was an email unprompted. It wasn't like I sent an email out thanking everybody for being there. I thanked everybody but it was an email unprompted just saying, thank you for my first time. And for someone who, obviously, a bigger crowd would have been a lot more intimidating for her. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that we had the crowd that we had. And maybe she chose it because it was going to be smaller and it was going to be limited for the people. And she needed that. And she said, I'll be there next year. So,
awesome.
So ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. This was great. And I can't wait to see you, Sadie, on the platform in December. Keep training, and good luck with school. And we'll see you. We'll see you in December. See you in person in December.
See you soon. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, ladies. That was great. They are. Man,
That's so different from me.
I wish I had been 15 and had their, yeah, and you can see it. It's not, it is real. It is real. I'm looking at them and they're just kind of like shrugging their shoulders, like, it's who you surround yourself with. It's who where you are in your life and who you want to be. And that is so different for so many young people. Thanks for listening to 5x3 Radio with Emily and Rebecca. If you like our show and want to know more about 5x3 training, please visit us at www.5, that's F-I-V-E, the letter X, the number 3.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. To learn more about Rebecca, please visit her website, cornerstonestrengthmaryland.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week.